Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of our Partners series. By now you're probably used to the format of these videos, but if you're new, just sit back and listen to how we work with each of our partners, with each episode focusing on a different partner. You can always go back and watch previous episodes if you like. Episode 1 was featuring the lovely Laurie Hotchman from Rocktioneer. Episode 2 was starring the amazing Dean Crownover with My Benefit Auctioneer. Today we have Seth Weiner from Your Rocktioneer giving us some insight into what he does to make your auctions rock. So without further ado, hey Seth, great to have you here today. Tell us about Your Rocktioneer.
Yeah, well, my name is Seth Weiner. I'm your Rocktioneer. I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm licensed in Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and somewhere else. I definitely like to travel, but most of my work is in the Atlanta area. I come from the music industry. I was in the music industry for 20 years, running music festivals and staffing for music festivals. Something that I don't think you and I ever talked about, Lauren, but yeah, that's where I got my start, managing volunteers at music festivals from big names like Coachella, Bonnaroo to Electric Forest and everything in between. So that was fun, and I also was an entertainer for music resort events and cruises. So they would take over like a resort, and I would be there with the different bands and creating fan and band interaction, poolside entertainment, and this sort of stuff. So I got my start as an auctioneer, just kind of helping out, holding a painting. And the executive director for the nonprofit was doing the 150, thank you so much, and now 200, thank you. And I just grabbed the mic from her hand and come on, and raise them more money than they ever have. And people are like, do you do that professionally? I'm like, who does that professionally? What are you talking about? Well, no, it's a profession. And I found that out, and I got licensed, and I changed my whole career right before the pandemic. And so I really went full time during the pandemic, before the pandemic, like that year, right? 2020 got hit. Like, I mean, my whole, that was it. I was like, that's it. I'm going in. I'm going to be a full-time benefit auctioneer. I finally got a bunch of clients lined up. It was my first major season where I was just doing auctions, no more of the music industry stuff. And then obviously things shut down. So that's, kind of stop there and let you know a little bit more about what I do. I am a benefit auctioneer specialist, a fundraising specialist. I'm recently got my certified, my CAI degree, right? It's a Certified Auctioneer Institute. It's less than 700 people ever have this certification. It's from the National Auctioneer Association. So it's kind of like the your doctorate of auctioning, right? Auctioneering. And what I do with that is I work with other auctioneers and really understand the industry as an auctioneer. Um, my specialty is my consulting. I mean, I come out and I raise a lot of money for nonprofits, but that's just a piece of what I do. Being on stage and talking fast and being an entertainer, that's the smallest part of what I do. What I work with my clients, Evan, your Rocktioneer's 8 Steps to Success. It's a way and method that I work with my clients to get them from start to finish. How are we going to raise the most amount of money? What are all our revenue streams? There's a lot of coaching that takes place on that, a lot of conference calls, etc., all my Zooms, and I've got a process, and I work with my clients on that process. And to see success this spring, just to give you an idea, 13 events this year, 2023, right? 13 events, over $1 million, well over $1 million have been raised. I've got actually I pulled my stats right here because I was just looking at it. Not including 3 events, so we'll just call it at a look at these 13 events. I've raised over $600,000 in paddle raises. I've raised over $350,000 in live auction. The online auction revenue over 300,000, and revenue generators over 200,000. So these are stats that I'm sharing, but I'm seeing a real trend in what we're selling, how we're selling it, and where the revenue can come from. And that's a big part of what I do. And I look at with my clients, I look at all the things. And what does that mean? All the things. Well, sure. I'm responsible for raising money. I'm responsible for a paddle raise, but how are we going to, you can't expect to raise $100,000 if you don't have anything pre-confirmed. So I work with my clients to really get them there and understand how we're going to set for success. What are our expectations? To also, I don't do the online auction for them, but I coach them on what they might want, give them some strategies as to what they might want in that online auction. Is it quality or quantity? All these sort of questions. And then the biggest question is, what happens at the event? Who's running your check-in? Who's running your checkout? Who's running your registration? These volunteers, are these staffing companies that you're hiring? Is it, what are you doing for this? And often people will use a software like OneCause or GiveSmart, and they'll hire a rep, but then they still have all their staff that are the volunteers that are running it. And if it's a school, it's like, these are school parents? Are they really gonna, what? Let's be real, like, they want to be here for the party as well. So what happens at the end of the night? When it's when they've been drinking all night, are they going to be doing checkout efficiently, or are they going to be wanting to have fun, and you're chasing them around? So there's a lot of factors that go into play on all these things. Even when it comes to DJ versus a band, I mean, if you've got an hour of entertainment available, do you really want to spend $10,000 on the band or $2,000 on the DJ? And so then that leads to the question, is this a party or a fundraiser? So that's what I do, is I work with my clients to really get them on the bigger picture.
Awesome. I think you've really shown that you cover a full service from start to finish. Do you want to tell us how we were introduced and maybe touch on the Georgia Innocent project? Because I know we worked really closely on this one.
Yeah, sure. So I don't remember exactly which event, but there was an event, and you all were the staffing company. You were the registration, you're managing all the operations for the and again, I don't even remember what software it was, but you all ran the technology piece, the registration, etc. So that's where I first met you all, because I met your Atlanta staff and was very impressed with how efficient things were. And then I think I ran into them 2 or 3 more times. So I got your contact number, and I kept on to it. And then recently, in the last fall, fall of 2022, I picked up a client, the Georgia Innocence Project, and we're talking, and you're getting closer. And it was kind of a last minute gig for me as well. But as we're getting closer to the event, I'm asking them again, like, what's your registration plan? They're like, oh, and it was basically discovered we don't have a registration plan. It's like, well, if you're going to get 500 people and you expect people to donate and expect people to do a paddle raise and expect people to do a live auction, you got to get them paddles. You got to get them registered. You got to get them registered efficiently, effectively, quickly. And what's that process? And so they were uncertain of that. And I said, okay, well, and that's where I suggested they reach out to you all with Life Marketing Team and let them know what you do. Because at the end of the day, it's there's a cost to hiring professionals, but it's not a cost when it does, because when you look at it this way, you might call it a cost because you're spending more money than doing it internally. But the cost of not hiring professionals is greater than the cost of hiring them. And I'll explain that a little bit more. The cost of hiring folks means you've got a line item now in your budget. So you look at that as a cost. But the real cost is, how much money are you going to leave on the table? How much money are you going to lose by not hiring a professional? And so if you look at this situation, if we had just done volunteers, not everyone got paddles, not everyone got registered in the system properly, not every, all the factors, right? Then we couldn't have done the paddle drop at the end. Paddle drop fundraising at the end of the night. Let's collect all your paddles. Anyone that gives us your paddle, it's a last gift to say $50. We're going to collect all the paddles, with them up in the air. Whichever one we catch, that one is going to go to Disney World or whatever the prize is, right? And so, that could bring in $3,000 to $5,000. But listen, if you don't have the people registered and you just gave them bitter paddles, how are you going to go back to each one of those people, say, donor 107, who was donor 107, and what's their credit card associated to 107? The amount of work you're going to have to do to find that, you're not going to end up doing it. So now you lost that $3,000 to $5,000 of revenue. Was it worth it? No. So that's why I think that there's a misconception of the cost. Does it cost us money to hire professionals? It costs you even more not to.
It's so true. The volunteers don't always know how the fundraising elements of the event work and what preparations and administration is needed to make them effective. When life event staffing work with auctioneers directly, just like with you, Seth, does it give you more confidence that it's going to be managed and donations or bids are not missed? We are basically your dedicated spotters to work with for your process.
Oh, absolutely. Really, what it comes down to more so is the fund and need. If I provide my all of the volunteers, all the staff, for the events with their volunteers with clerking sheets, which for some reason is just so confusing to them. So when life is there, it's I can hand them my sheets. I know exactly what's going on. And it's an ease. The reconciliation at the end. So if we ever do like a last hero or last paddle up, which are the run around where um moving really fast. Donor 121, now 202, now 303, now 407, now 501, going once, going twice, 302 again. Woo, uh, having a staff that's familiar with that makes it a lot easier. And I always record all my stuff. So at the end of an event, if there's any discrepancies, I just give your team the life, marketing team there, the recording, and they can figure it out because they've done it. They know what's going on. They know the flow. They know what an auctioneer needs. So yeah, it's just nice when you have familiar faces that know what's going on. And again, like it's every software is a little different about how to import that information. Sometimes you got to go buy the bidder into the profile, and and there's this whole back. So knowing I never touch the software stuff. That's not my forte. That's not where I want to go. And I decided that a long time ago. But when you all are there, I know that it's in good hands, and it's also the organization. It's less stress on them. The development director needs to be out there schmoozing, connecting, talking to donors, creating new donors. And if they're spending their time doing data entry, they're missing out that opportunity to really connect with the donor. And again, that's a huge opportunity cost.
Can you tell us about the up and coming fall and your expectations for business going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start by saying I am very excited about some of the new things I'm going to be doing. I recently have built out my game show set, if you will, and so I'm launching a new side of my business, something I've been doing, but not at this level. So what I'll be doing is I'm looking to pick up some more corporate conferences, especially in Atlanta, where on one day I'll come in and do, say it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Monday I come in, I do a game show, a Family Feud, a Name That Tune, whatever the minute to win. It's like some ice breaking, team building, lots of fun game show. And then come back on Wednesday because all these organizations, all these companies, they have foundations. And so my goal is to come back and do a fundraiser now that everyone knows me as the game show host for Monday morning. They've done their conference and closing out the conference on Wednesday night with some sort of a call to auction, a paddle raise, a live auction, raising money for their foundations. And so that's something I'm really excited about. That also is going to tear off into some other opportunities for a game show fundraising event where there's some matching donations for be it with the schools or et cetera. So we currently are talking to potential sponsors, and this is something that I think could be really big. So that's on the horizon. Auction wise, my fall is starting to pick up. I've got some good stuff. I'm excited to be back with the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy and their annual cheer event. The Purple Pansies event coming up, Camp Kudzu, the Fernbank Museum, the Gift of Adoption, Mempho Music Festival, raising money for St. Jude, and the phone's still ringing, and the emails are still coming in. So I'm definitely booking things out, and I've got some room in my calendar. So when there's an opportunity that makes sense, I'm here.
So, Seth, tell me how you think clients book events. For example, what order do they decide on things like mobile bidding, auctioneers, and staffing, of course?
That's a good question. I mean, let's break it down this way. If it's a first year event or is it a new development director, there's lots of variables that go into it. But typically speaking, if I get into an event, their auctioneer they had in the past is either not available or they're looking for some change, right? Like they've had this auctioneer, they want someone different, they want someone more experienced, whatever it is. And so as an auctioneer, I get booked out on a first time, right? Not a repeat client, on a new client for me. I'm starting to see myself getting booked out, almost a year in advance, if not, the 6 months, and a lot less on the 3 months, 2 months, and 1 month. That still happens. But the first thing they're doing is venue, and most of the time they're locking that venue in a year. Then I think when it comes to software, they're mostly like, the bigger softwares get them locked into these 3-4 year contracts. So they're like, I hate our software, but we're in a contract. I get that all the time. And every software is, there's good and bad of every software. No software is made perfect for anyone. And so often that, they're locked in, and if they're not locked in, then they're not thinking about it until the events planning starts happening. And then really when it comes to, staffing, most everyone's thinking we're going to staff it ourselves. And then it takes someone like a professional, be it an event planner or an auctioneer, or someone to say, well, okay, so just let's do math here. You have 500 people. How long does it take to process somebody? Okay, it takes a minute. So that's 500 minutes. How many people, you got to do the math. Like, it's literally, how many stations, how long does it take to get people in? Keep in mind, so you have a registration is going to be open for an hour. How many people are people going to be coming in, and, 10 people every minute? Or, like, no, everyone's going to show up at the same time. Let's face it. You're going to have a majority of people you're going to have a sprinkling of people at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, sprinkling of people at 6 o'clock, but 6:30, your bulk's going to be there, or whatever the number is, and that's something that, again, you all have the experience. And that's why I lean on hiring a professional, because when you're talking about a staffing company, the flow, that, especially if it's in Atlanta, that Friday, a 6 o'clock on Friday registration, no one's getting there. You got traffic. You got you home from work at 5 o'clock, shower to change to be ready for a black tie event, plus getting your babysitters, all set. Your babysitter's got to get it. Everyone's fighting traffic, but by the time people get there, your program you think is going to start at 7 is starting at 8. It's just, it's just the nature of it. So yeah, I think often with where you all are at, it's the, oh, what are we going to do? Like, that's you. I'm sure that majority of your calls come in going, oh my God, I don't know what we're going to do. You're the lifesaver. As an auctioneer, mostly I'm getting hired. Like I said, 6 months is my sweet spot, because for me, I want to be able to provide that consultation. When someone calls me and says, hey man, we got a event on, Saturday, can we hire you? I'm like, what do you want to hire me for? Like, just to talk fast and sell? Like, let me refer you to other 10 auctioneers that can do that really well. Because where my value is this 3 to 6 months where we're getting on the phone, having consultations, talking to the different team members, and really building out the plan. And so when it comes to, like, even, if you think about, if I'm doing a referral for you on day 1, 6 months before the event, I go through, what's your registration plan? Are you doing it internally, etc.? And then about, 3 months before the event, it's like we're having a consult just on the registration and online auction and where they're at. And it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, we already talked about it. Now we're talking about it again. And it's getting a little bit more, the stress points here. Yeah, I think we might need to hire somebody. What do we do? And so, that's where that comes in.
Thanks, Seth. Did I hear you refer to life event staffing as lifesavers?
Life event staffing are the lifesavers.
Seth, as always, thank you so much for your valuable input here. We all love working with you. I know a lot of our Georgia team speak extremely highly of you, and we can't wait to see you again. To our viewers, thanks for watching. If you want to get in touch with Seth at Your Rocktioneer, you can make contact directly or through us, and you won't be disappointed. Look out for our next episode in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, if you need professional and experienced event staff to manage or support your event, you know where to come. See you next time. Thank you.